we're going to be going into a lower third of pick ban and then be jumping into game 1 so we can try and catch up live for the second. Let's have a quick talk about this dude because, okay, we got a LeBlanc, we got Xin, Jinx, Viego. Unfortunately, no Gwen, but a Diana. Good picks.
Yeah, so for me, I'm actually really excited by WE's composition. A lot of late game scaling. You can see the Viego is really strong for Breathe. And I think for both myself and yourself, Hysterics, looking at that top lane matchup was certainly one that we were going to be keeping our eyes on. So excited to see what Breathe can do with this Viego pick. Up there against Nuguri, who looks like he's got his hands on that Renekton, which I'm surprised to see have dipped the entire way through that pick ban until the end for FPX.
What I'm laughing at is Senna Tahm bottom lane, a crisp classic, an FPX classic. We have ourselves Doinb on the Lee Sin mid. I know when people see this, it'd be like, wait, is it Lee Sin top? Nuguri, Doinb with the Renekton mid. A very FPX comp that's going to be looking towards these solo laners. Dagda, you and I, we're going to talk about the highlight matchup in this one. WE versus FPX. The main one I want you to focus on is Breathe versus Nuguri. I will say, hands down, these are two of the best top laners in the world. Maybe not top 2, but they're up there in the top of the pool easily. If you don't know who Breathe is, previously known as Curse, this guy was an OMG top laner who was carrying his team. Now on WE going up against Nuguri, I'm excited to watch these two head to head.
I'm going to slap you with some stats, Hysterics, just to get us hyped for this matchup, all right? So Breathe has the 3rd highest goal difference of anyone in the league. I'm not just talking top laners. At 807, he is the highest average solo kills per game of anyone in the league at 7. But then he's going up against Nuguri, who has the highest CSD of 15 of anyone in the league. He is the highest goal difference of 15 of anyone in the league. But there's a caveat with Nuguri. Nuguri also has the most deaths in the league at 15 minutes, at averaging 2 deaths at 15. So definitely a little bit of back and forth, but certainly like these two are the top, some of the top laners that we have in the LPL right now, and I'm so excited to watch them go up head to head.
That's why I said top laners in the world right now feels like Missing versus Elk here, or rather Missing and Elk versus Chris and LWX, excuse me. Something on the lower third we saw there before. Beishang is 16 assists away from 1500, which is quite an achievement considering he only came here in 2019. He joined WE, and remember that I believe there's still Condi on the roster at the time as well. So Beishang, that's 2 years to pull that achievement off. That's very impressive.
Yeah, and I think as well, we're going to be keeping our eyes on him as this game starts to go forward, because one of the things that we were talking about is like, hey look, if Beishang is able to get control of this jungle matchup, he can definitely take over. And when we look at these junglers, they're 2 very distinct styles, right? Beishang wants to go like this. He wants to go in and bait, try and steal away some of these camps and get face to face with his opponents. Whereas for Tien is much more about getting into the lanes and influencing the solo matchup, specifically that mid lane for Doinb as well. So we'll be keeping our eyes to see if Beishang can try and steal away some of these camps as Tien is trying to interact with the lanes.
Or if he can get towards the top side and set up a dive here. Level 3 on both Breathe and Beishang. Nuguri the same. Half health, but not too much fury to talk about, because the harrowed path is created. Now Breathe gets the attack speed, he'll be able to play through and push this wave out. Beishang still setting up for the dive. There's no jungle attention up here from the other side, and Nuguri getting dove down. First blood over to WE, but it's traded, and trade is good for the top laner of FPX.
Yeah, he'll be happy to at least get something there, but still, I mean, he does lose out on a good bit of that wave, won't be able to keep up in levels when you look towards Breathe as well, but at least Nuguri did get something back. And now Tien, this means he'll be able to get that scuttle on the bottom side. Actually looks like Doinb's going to try and trade that scuttle on the top side, so you still get that advantage coming through from Tien, and just placing a ward in this opposite jungle as well to spot that Lwx and Chris can crash this wave successfully.
Thinking that a dive would come in reverse. I like this, you know, from both these top tier teams, you expect that, right? Tien's always been known for looking to dive the bottom lane. FPX have always used Tahm Kench aggressively. I think LPL Tahm Kench is ring true to that as well. An important note here, Dagda, while we've been setting up a bit of the story, talking about the jungle v jungle matchup, and I want to reiterate that Beishang will bring Mole to him. Tien will bring himself to Doinb. Bottom lane, something that we weren't going to talk about at all, but Elk and Missing have had pretty decent laning phases so far. They've had pretty good time and a stable start to the LPL as on top of Mole. Tien will find himself, Pale Cascade, not going to get the last orb, and Mole ran out of mana but could just walk out of there. Has teleport as well, so no threat of losing too much in the wave.
Yeah, I want to go back to your bot lane point though, because like as you talked about, like Elk has been actually such a key carry for WE. He has 32% of the team's damage. Like they are very much in on getting this guy ahead, and although might need to help out Beishang a little bit here.
Chris should be able to devour this, but Tien goes over the wall. The Lunar Rush, fantastic. Eaten up. Chris sends out the Gromp, and LWX just wants a soul. He'll get it over the wall. Nice little steal there, and the bonus of having a Tahm Kench. So everything kind of dissipates in that bottom lane, and FPX are just going to back away.
Yeah, Beishang going to reset as well, means that he's got nothing on this bot side, so going to start heading back up towards the top lane and towards his Krugs, whereas Tien, he's still going to try and full clear this bottom side before he looks for his own reset. So opportunity potentially for Beishang to make something happen on this top side, but again, like a lot of back and forth in these early stages.
Nuguri hit six first. Breathe doesn't have the Heartbreaker, but unfortunately, it looks like Ruthless Predator not available for Nuguri. Beishang also up here as well, so just in case it continued, the Zhao would have been able to follow up. But just note that Beishang's level 4. His ability to gank and trade off in the top lane, Dagda, seems like it cost him a bit while Tien kept farming.
Yeah, exactly. As we talked about, right? The two scuttles went the way of FPX, Doinb getting one, Tien on the other. And then as well, that Gromp going across means he is set a little bit behind. The big question though is if Tien can try and follow up on this again and put him further behind. But Tien's actually reading this play on the top side super well. He's here to assist Nuguri.
There's no Dominus, but there's no level 6 Diana as well. Mole spotted out an award going topside, and so Nuguri will back all the way back into the lane. Doinb will have Shove here as well. Nice Tempest followed by the Cripple. Mole distorts, and Beichang spotted out. Dragon's Rage furies him backwards, and Mole manages to survive out. Doinb will have wave priority here as well. And Mole could actually be dope and executed. I like that Doinb now threatening the jungle here. On his Lee Sin, he's feeling comfortable.
I actually love Doinb's Lee Sin. I think it's been an insanely strong champ for him. Actually, the top 5 plays, we popped in an clean Lee Sin play from himself as he was managed to get the solo kills. So definitely, ooh, hang on, Mo.
Okay, does he get the bandage down? He does. Maybe, okay, it's a chain, we know, but either way, Mole gets a lockdown, doesn't mean too much. And Dagda, I'm trying to update what's going on, but FPX and WE just keep making reverse plays. I'm going to try and dive. I'm going to try and pick. FPX now trying to dive the bottom lane. Elkin missing play respectfully, though. This is completely different to what we saw out of JDG versus V5 in our last series. Both teams are paying the respect that is due.
And the thing here is that even though FPX don't get the kill, they're forcing WE away from the turret, and that's just as important. With LWX, he'll scale no matter what, whereas Elk needs that gold and needs to hit those 3 items. So definitely going to need a little bit more as Nuguri.
Yeah, he's going to wave clear, picks up Fury there with the ulti. Mole comes over to get the assist, but it wasn't in time. Meanwhile, FPX is going to dive the bottom lane. I was just talking about the respect paid as the Moonfall collapses on top of Elk. And Chris and TM managed to get out, poking down his LWXs. There we go, Moonfall once again. Excuse me, it's the follow-up with the Lunar Rush. And Tien manages to find the kill. Dagda, I said they're paying respect, and then both dives are successful.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's kind of the way the WE bot lane, right? Sometimes they're respectful, then they kind of forget that they need to be, and they end up going underneath the turret. LWX and Crisp, you are so capable of diving. So many heals that can come in. The shielding that's available on the Tahm Kench as well means he can set up these dives. And not even that Tien at hit level 6 was able to go in with the Moonfall as well. However, look at top side. Beishang does get that Rift Child. Now, I want to bring us back into kind of what we're expecting here, because we didn't get to break these down too much. So, for WE, Elk, Breathe, late game scaling, muy bien. They look absolutely fantastic. Plays like this from FPX that stop Elk from getting to that late game are going to hurt him substantially. For FPX though, this is actually amazing for them, because not only are they going to get some kills, get some extra gold into LWX, get those souls as well, it's kills going into Tien's hands. And Diana, who's able to get the ball rolling, get towards this early rocket belt, Zonya's becomes way, way more impactful when you look at these engages and the threat to the backline.
I think importantly to note as well is there's a lot of, not just engage, but I'll say there's a lot of activation from FPX. Lee Sin, Diana, Renekton, right? You know, they hit 6 and their ulti's set up for success. And you've got healing, you've got support from Crisp and Lwx. It's an FPX draft where solo lanes matter, and Tien's momentum towards those solo lanes is always going to be looked after. He's been focusing towards the bottom side for now, and Dagda, I love that you mentioned it's about stopping Elk, it's about stopping the scaling portion. But the rest of WE right now feeling okay. Mole here with the CS lead by 10 in the mid lane. Top side, Breathe, who we hyped up, is 2-0 over Nuguri, has a 20 CS lead himself, is so close to the Divine Thunderer, which will blow apart Nuguri in these 1v1 trades.
Yeah, and it actually makes it really hard for FPX to do it as well, right? Because you end up with a huge amount of healing. Yep. The Divine Thunder as well, taking away that max health, the 14% means that you're going to be able to do a lot of work against these bruisers and tankier lineups that FPX are fielding. So certainly Breathe is going to become a menace in these fights. You can see there, like, he's over 1,000 gold ahead of Nuguri, which is the gold lead right now for WE.
And the important part is that WE keep doubling down towards the play. It's Beishang hitting top, hitting top, hitting top continuously, and Tien is making the responsive play. And I feel like your point is so valid towards the Jinx, but it's also like, well, WE might think that, okay, Elk's going to scale anyway, even if he falls a little bit behind. Let's get the Viego snowballing. Let's get Mole in a comfortable position. I'm the Xin Zhao. I'll share the gold with you. And those 3 members set up for first turret blood in the top lane. Excuse me, it's not first turret blood. It was actually first turret blood to FPX before. But WE do manage to match with the Herald and get a good charge.
And look, again, WE, they just need something to be going their way, right? Divine Thunder now completed for the Viego. He's a massive factor in these fights. But the thing is, right, we've already got just the first dragon picked up for FPX. You're not under pressure when it comes towards dragons, right? It's a very late dragon to be picked up, so WE at least buy time to get to the later portion of the game. Whereas for FPX, when you're looking at, like, Doinb trying to spike off of the 2 items of the... actually, he's got Stridebreaker, but Hysterics, when you look towards Nuguri, he's also going to want to get that Hysterics. Like, you want to be hitting the fights hard, but the fact that you haven't actually got these dragons lined up for yourselves means you've got a bit more wiggle room as WE to hang on and see if you can hit that 3rd item breaking point for the likes of Elk.
And I think it'll be important to know what the soul's going to be, right? If it's an Ocean Soul for this game, I mean, for a team that has Senna too for FPX, stacking up those dragons is going to be so crucial. As the Lwx and Chris move to the top side, and I like this, you know, we've seen a trade in the map considering that bot lane turret's gone, top lane turret's gone for FPX. And just shifting sides of the map. I mean, WE are not matching completely. They've left Elk in the mid lane, who's just been able to hold off the wave. And it's Mole up in the top side, who's holding on sideways for now. So you've got to remember, Dagda, that LeBlanc, Viego inside is, you know, perfectly fine. Especially with Divine Thunderer, especially with all the escape routes you have as a LeBlanc.
It also gives WE the opportunity to move around and play to their strengths, right? If Breathe is down on this bottom side, well, let's go and have Mole, as you can see now, start to roam down. He can work alongside Beishang, potentially look for more dives on Nuguri, more turret plates going in, although they're about to leave in about a minute's time. So you've got the opportunity to continue towards your strong half of the map, especially now that there's no Rift Herald on it.
So we'll be timing towards the Dragon instead. Mid actually going to be pushed out here with Mole waiting off the wing. That's what I love with LeBlanc players, always sitting in fog of war. And Mole trying to get his first kill of the game. But Lwx and Crisp, excuse me, I had a prawn cocktail, Dagda, which, if any non-Australian doesn't know, is literally prawn and seafood sauce. It is not actually a cocktail.
So good.
Yeah, absolute banger of a food, which definitely an overused word in the LPL at this point. Is onto Crisp and Lwx. Chains don't connect from Mole, trying to get a pick in the mid lane, but it's just turret trade for turret trade. Doinb Tien top, and look bot.
Yeah, and look, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, though, I kind of prefer Viego getting fed. He said, look, Diana can do a lot. Viego can do a lot plus some. So I'm a little bit worried if Breathe is just able to take over this game, but we'll have to see if we get to that stage. Still though, Mole now, moving up to this top lane, just to make sure that FPX can't get 2 turrets.
Almost catching out Mole means a bit of damage goes down, and yeah, the turret trade in favor of FPX at the end of the day. 2k gold lead here. Kind of built up from left wing as well. 14 minutes in the game and plating has gone down, so more influential that they pulled it up before the turret plating actually disappeared in this game. And now with that extra bit of gold, Dragon feels a little bit comfortable here for FPX. We still have that 700 gold lead in the mid lane. It really is just Nuguri who's behind 2K. You said it before, Dagda. It is the gold difference between WE and FPX, but FPX have taken over, and now with it, we do have a little bit more gold spread out to the rest of the carries.
And it's the breakpoints as well that are coming through, right? So look at the items. You haven't got one on Mole, you haven't got the Mythic on Elk. Like, whereas when you look across at FPX, they are stuck to the masses here, where they pretty much have the items across the board. So at least from their point of view, they're down to fight. Now, it is 20 seconds, Tien is on this Rift Herald, so may look to actually trade this, but I certainly think for FPX, you have opportunities here across the board.
I'll be real excited to see where Tien puts this, considering that mid lane turret's still available, and we know that Senna's not the fastest pusher in the game, not even close to it. So Tien now within hand can make a distraction, can open up the map a little bit. This Dragon spawns and Breed spotted out walking from Downward River.
Mole has TP though, so could try and join this fight a little bit later. Doinb Lee as well, back in base, but has his own TP alongside Nuguri the bot side. So looks like FPX are just going to try and take this turret and then back away and try and force themselves over towards this Dragon with no real contention coming through, as everyone on WE is stranded in that mid lane.
Yeah, it's hard at this point, right? When Tien is still unaccounted for, Vision is still controlled by FPX. I mean, the river's absolutely clean. And this is what we see in a lot of our top teams, that Vision priority goes above and beyond. We have a lens on a Renekton top. Nowhere will you really find that kind of priority on a top laner. Sonic Wave, that was close towards Breathe. Yeah, almost finding the pick off as Nuguri's pushing in, but Breathe will now be spotted out, and FPX deep in both of these lanes.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Is that, like, yes, you've got Breathe, who's super far ahead, but if he's stuck in a side lane, he's just going to get slowly pushed in as Tien is bouncing back and forth between mid and bot side. So Mole is trying to answer for that push, but it gives FPX control in this mid. Now they can start to get a little bit more vision control for themselves, but as you can see, the amount of control wards that are in WE's top side of the jungle means that FPX are going to need to spend a little bit more time actively clearing out that vision and trying to make sure they can actually, you know, support Doinb Lee on his push top, support Nuguri as he tries to shove in bot side.
It'll be more important as this next Dragon comes up. I know people might be falling asleep with a 5-kill game. At this point in time, you know, this is like in solo queue where your team, you know, might be in a good position, bad position. They go, don't worry guys, we scale. You know, you have a Senna, you have a Jinx. Both teams have really good scaling elements, so it's just kind of funny to watch them and say, yep, we will handshake at this point in the game. That's what they've been doing all game long. And WE will now finally end the handshake because it's 2 for 2 turrets on the board. That was the one left over. And gold will move back to almost 1.5k. And, you know, I don't want people sleeping, Dagda. I really don't, because, you know, sleep is for the weak. Here in Australia, it's almost 10 p.m.
Hashtag LPL grind. Hashtag get that bread.
That's right. Hashtag 24/7. You know, I don't know. I don't use Instagram all that well, but I can't stand those bloody hashtags, I'll tell you what. I feel like that's why I'm a boomer is, oh, okay, Chris gets LWX out. The power of Tahm Kench, folks, and yeah, maybe not a boomer in reality, but a boomer in spirit.
Hey, look, you got Twitch chat ahead of me, because I have no idea how to use any of the emotes in that thing, but yeah, might need to emote a little bit of a crying face.
Yeah, maybe a real boomer. Here comes Heartbreaker. Breathe, bit of damage, and finally the fight begins. LWX takes the 2 mega death rocket as Chris saves Tien's life, but Mole, the flank in the backline from the TP, absolutely beautiful if he can survive, but LWX doesn't let him. That's Nuguri, the weak Renekton, has found himself his own little flank. He'll heal up if he can get a Q, but it's Reset City, and now Breathe on the tear. No flash, but Heartbreaker once more into the center, and resets for a Viego is just what you want to see.
And we know what this champion can do when he gets ahead. 5 kills on this Viego now. He's getting resets, he's getting kills, he's going to have his run of the game as Crisp. I don't know if you want to try and defend this, but looks like WE are respecting the catfish.
It just comes back to what you and I set up, right? We didn't really have an A block, but you and I talked about it's going to be Breathe, it's going to be Nuguri. I threw that out there because it was important. And Breathe bought so much time, kept so many resources, and this Divine Thunder Hysterics Viego just doesn't die.
And you can even see, right, he's picking up a little bit of health in the backside. Then the Divine Thunder starts to come through, and watch the healing. Like, between the Divine Thunder and then the resets, he is getting so much healing. And again here, you know, slice in, doesn't have the dice, doesn't matter, heartbreaker number 15 at this stage. It's just like, cool, we're gonna finish off this fight.
5-0, you mentioned it. Hysterics gauge there, and really good things to be said of WE, who've caught up in the gold lead because of that last fight. Mole's TP in the backline as well. That was actually amazing. Finding the pick, even though he got traded from Lwx, it meant that FPX was separated. And Breathe could find the priority in these fights. He could find the resets with the Sovereign's domination and get that 8% reset for the HP. So now Dagda, 2 Dragons piece for FPX, but we have to remember that this Viego in a fight, he's going to be setting up for success. Cheers for the red buff, mate. Doinb gets tagged on the way out, but at least they get out.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned there, the Ocean Dragon is a big one for me, right? If you're able to get this as FPX, you've got a lot of sustain that's going to come through already with, like, the Gore Drinkers. The Doinb is having sustain in the Lee Sin, so definitely going to be a point of contention here, but WE, you can see, like, they're perfectly happy to go and try and fight these now, especially with Breathe having just completed his own Hysterics' Mole.
Distortion out. Hard to catch a LeBlanc here unless you want to fully commit, but no flash was available for Nuguri. And even at this point, I mean, he's only the 1.5 item Renekton. The Executioner's Calling picked up here, which is going to be a good pick. Mole's damage. I mean, Nuguri, remember, there's no MR there. He went into an AD lane.
Yeah, I mean, he's also not going to be picking up MR anytime soon, right? He's going to be looking towards that Hysterics, so will have a little bit of safety when he gets to that, but 30 CS, actually near 40 CS down in that side lane, and as well then, also just the kills that are gone the way of Breathe, like, he's a long way from home.
Let's see how WE approach the fight though, because Dragon's up being taken down. FPX moving to Soul Point, they've got it. Soul's on the ground, but Lwx risky to go in as Mole jumps in, misses the chains. FPX have the HP advantage. A 2-man route thanks to Lwx. The hook from missing to save the day. Going golden in the nick of time is kicked back from Beishang, but Breathe goes in. His team do not. Mole on the wing of it as well, gets the burst down. The LeBlanc, sneaky like a snake, but Lwx will punch him in the gut to finish it off with his big gun. It's a win for FPX at the end of the day, a 1 for 2, and Dragon Dagda leads them to Soul Point.
Yeah, Sneaky Snake gets sniped on the back line by Lwx, and that's kind of been the story of this, right? Lwx, because he's got that Glacial Augment, can actually do a really good job of chasing down this LeBlanc when she tries to go in, but unfortunately for Breathe, as you said, goes in aggressively, doesn't have quite enough damage to finish people off and start getting the resets, and it's just a messy fight from W, right? Ideally, you want Mole to be trying to get a flank, trying to pick off members on his backline. He doesn't really get a chance. Great engage there from Lwx and to get the CC down. Breathe is trying to go in, but there's just a mass of bodies in the thick of things here. Isn't able to really burst anyone down. Nearly picks off Tien, though. And then at this stage, it's like, okay, cool, we got one back, but another kill for Lwx, another Dragon going out in favor of FPX, and you need to be getting there early as WE. You cannot be dilly-dallying when there's these big objectives on the board.
I think you need an Oblivion Orb on Mole Dagda. I think you need a lot more healing reduction on many members. I mean, Executioner's Calling should have been picked up here by Elk. There's a lot of criticism towards the healing reduction that doesn't exist on the side of WE. I'm just looking through to make sure I haven't said anything wrong, but yeah. You have a Senna, you have a Renekton, you have a Lee Sin, you have a Tahm Kench. Healing reduction against FPX is mandatory for WE, considering that they're almost towards Ocean Soul. One Ocean plus a Senna is already going to be so much healing in these longer fights.
Yeah, whereas you can see Nuguri's already paid that tax, right? He's got the Chempunk there, where he's going to be like, cool, I can actually like go into these fights and reduce a lot of the healing on Breathe, on Beishang, especially on Elk if he starts to look towards like him getting it through both his runes, and also if he starts to look towards some of the healing items as well. But FPX, they're going in.
Flashes in. Oh, doesn't get the kickoff though. Now too far forward, eaten up by Crisp. That was an engage that failed, unfortunately, but it was a flash on Elk as well. So for Doinb's flash, you'd still call that worth in the end.
Yeah, and this is something that Doinb does quite a lot, where, especially when he's on the Lee Sin, he'll go towards the Strikebreaker build.
TP's coming in, look at Tien in the backline onto Elk. Moonfall flies through, Pale Cascade gives him shielding while Doinb flies forward once again, but WE are scattered to the win. 5 members now charging up the mid lane, and Diana, Renekton, Lee Sin, how many angles can you watch?
I mean, it's the death ball, right? FPX just group as a huddle. Mole can't get onto the key targets. Breathe is the exact same, and this motorized death ball is just pushing itself down mid lane and stopping WE from being able to do anything. I mean, you started off with a 1,000 gold lead for WE. That's now a 2k gold lead going over in favor of FPX. 1.5 minutes until the Ocean Soul is available for them, and they are rapidly approaching some key items.
And while WE can play angles really nicely as well, like, you're right, those key items making a big difference at the moment. There is the Dagda, I'm trying to get there into the Void Staff. Why is my brain doing this to me?
The Blight Jewel.
Thank you. Blighting Jewel. Yeah. Fantastic. You've helped me out very much, sir. It's so those item differences, right? And as soon as Lwx has the Rage Blade, has the second, third item, he's also got the Kachea's Shard. We're just going to be seeing FPX huge.
We're actually seeing a different style of build here. So this is something that Freak actually did a really good job breaking down over in his channel. Okay. But if you are going for this rapid fire cannon second and sticking on the Rage Knife, you do get a stronger spike in the mid game, but it's a longer time until you can actually hit the late game because you don't have as many item slots to actually finish off your Rage Blade. So in this scenario, Lwx has gone, right, I want to close out this game in the next couple of minutes, because if we get to late game, obviously, it's going to be tough with Elk, with Breathe. So instead, he takes the mid-game spiking build to try and push through now off of the Paraspike FPX.
When he's already doing so much damage, he's been on cleanup patrol here. The 70 CS Senna, who I'll see if I can get a soul check for you, ladies and gentlemen, at some point. But WE coming in off the angle. FPX have been cryo, and Doinb backs away. 5 versus 5 with angles being played through aggressively. Mole gets tagged up, but bit of damage onto Lwx. Beishang goes in, has to pull the Crescent Guard though. And Tien now backing away as well. Look at what's been used. It was Ignite, it was ulti. Mole poking his head into the chamber. That is Doinb. Already quite a bit of damage done. Mole can't be contested at this point. They want to deny Ocean Soul, Dagda. I'm just not sure how you can do it. FPX still a little bit low. Need to heal up.
Yeah, Crisp, though, has no Devourer for at least another 4 or 5 seconds. Breathe did get a nice stun into Lwx, but now we're already in the pit.
Being in, but that's a double distortion from Mole into the back line. Crisp is going to face tank. Doinb's into the pit as well. They've already got Nell onto Beishang. He's down. That should be an Ocean Soul. They just need to kill him. Into the pit, it's secured. Breathe can't deny it. And the FunPlus Phoenix rises once more.
And it's despite the early game deficit, FPX's team fighting comes out clutch. You get the Abyssal Voyage into mid. FPX, they want to end the game right now.
Right through the mid lane channel, no one dies, but 3 down for WE. Look at the death time as Dagda, it's only 27 minutes. Can they end here is the biggest question. With Elk coming up and available, they don't care.
I mean, FPX said sit down and wait, and they've definitely done it in this. Now, Nexus turrets to go.
That's it. I mean, Death Sentence does connect. Mole jumps in as well. We saw the Sonic Wave before. Running forward, Doinb jumps on in. Bear Nexus now just has to be hit as FPX taking a lot of damage. Lwx is killing Elk though. He knows it's done. And FPX deliver in what was a fluid game number 1.
And it's done in such FPX fashion as well, right? We're seeing the Senna, Tahm, Kench bot lane, the most played bot lane for FPX. We're seeing Doinb bringing out these cool picks like the Lee Sin that he's been making a name for himself on. And still, even though WE try to play through Breathe, they try to get this guy up and rolling, it's not enough against the superior FPX mid-game and team fighting.
Well, I think FPX showcasing how they can play through those angles, but also through Tien picking up an early CS lead, an important part, Dagda. Using the tools like Doinb's Lee Sin. Even Nuguri had an impact in fights when he was so far out in the laning phase because he got bullied down.
Yeah, it kind of... It was a little bit messy for Nuguri. He obviously got picked apart there with a huge amount of pressure going up towards that top side of the map, but even though he got to that state, he was still a menace in these team fights. And I think that's one of the amazing things about Nuguri is that even though we've seen him like most deaths in the LPL, right? He averages 2 deaths of 15 minutes. Sorry, not most deaths, but most deaths of 15. The ability of him to actually still have these big impacts when we get towards the team fights and still finding these flank routes, putting pressure on towards Elk. Like we saw in that last fight, Nuguri jumps on towards Elk and just gets blown up straight off the bat. Like there was just nothing that Elk could